Crazy. Crazy. So, Paul, what did you learn from the Pacers' Game 1 win?
Man, they've shown me so much throughout this playoff run. It's not a lot that I learned from them because as you went through these playoffs and you saw they knocked out Milwaukee, then Cleveland, and they win all these road games, you start throwing words out there like resilient or a team that understands the moment, stubborn. But the one thing that really stood out for me is I was like, this team has tremendous leadership in the locker room, on the coaching staff, because, I've been on teams to where things don't go your way and you just get discouraged and then you start seeing body language change and moping and things of that. I never see that with Indiana. And I was like, that's got something to do with leadership because I've also been on teams that's been down a lot of points in the finals that's come back and won. And I think about what the timeouts, how the timeouts went with the leadership on the team, the coaching staff, not only the head coach, the assistants, encouraging them, stay in it, staying confident. So I'm like, man, the leadership on that side is unmatched. And then I start thinking about, like, the leadership over in OKC. Yeah, I've seen Shea, kind of lead his team and say some things to him, but when it's coming from when it's coming from Indiana, Tyrese Haliburton, Pascal Siakam, the one thing that stuck with me after the game, when they showed him walking in the hallway, they was like, man, we got the win. Usually you get the win, you excited comeback game winner, yeah. But they was like, man, we didn't even play good. They was like, we didn't even play good. And I was like, man, that's leadership right there. That's leadership right there. So that's really what I took away from it, because all these other things, I knew about them. I knew they were dangerous. I knew they were deep. I knew they could coach. I knew they have a great offense. I knew all those other things, but the leadership just stood out the most for me.
Yeah, you look at them and you look at the game, but they've been in this situation all year long for the most part, especially in the postseason. They haven't been the favorites. You think about Cleveland was the favorite. You think about the Knicks were the favorites. Okay, now they come up against OKC, a 60-plus win team, but you can't count Haliburton out. You can't count the Pacers out. It's like they the cardiac kids to a degree. And, like I said, they've been doing it all year long. It's like a team of destiny for whatever reason to bring the trophy to Indy for the first time around. I don't know why it's that way, but there's no panic that sets in. They let you make the mistakes, and then they capitalize on them in the end.
Man.
And then all of a sudden they put the ball in Haliburton's hand, and then we've watched this now time in and time again. He just knocked down the shots at the end. It's like he became the clutch player, when everybody else in the league, or not everybody, but many people in the league that voted said that he was overrated. Well,
man.
I don't know about that one. They got to kind of take that back now.
At this point, if you're a player, you should want them to say that you're overrated. Josh Allen won the MVP, and Haliburton is having the postseason a postseason that is going to change his life forever.
No,
We're never going to look at him as a player.
This postseason is going viral.
Yes.
and especially if he finishes the deal. If they finish the deal, no matter if it goes 7, 6, whatever.
I mean, I think his life is different no matter what, but that will be.
But he wanted to be maximized to the fullest.
Of course. I think that OKC, what I learned is OKC is not really ready for a close game. They have two 2-point wins this postseason, one against Memphis and one against Minnesota. The point differential per game in the series for every single other series is massive.
Yep.
They either win in a blowout or they don't win, with the exception of 2 games.
Yep.
So and what we've learned about the Pacers throughout this postseason is if you let them hang around, they're gonna sneak right up and snatch your little soul when you least expect it. And at this point, you should expect it from the Pacers, because they've done this in 4 games. They have had 5 comeback wins by trailing by more than 15 points in this postseason, and they continuously do this to teams in this run. And they didn't have a good game. That first half was unwatchable. They were awful. They had the most turnovers in the first half of any playoff game since 2001, 2002. 18. They had 25 turnovers. That's the most turnovers in a finals game that's resulted in a win in the play-by-play era. They did not play well. They played well defensively throughout the game. Mm-hmm. And that, I believe, is what kept them in it enough to just stay within striking distance. And what OKC didn't do was hit the shots that they needed to down the stretch to keep the point differential enough so they couldn't sneak in. But the Pacers just never feel out of it.
Mm-hmm. But
like that game was over.
But that's the same thing the Knicks did to the Celtics. No, I'm not throwing shade, Paul. I mean, that's the same thing that the Pacers did to the Knicks. The same thing. They keep it so close that they almost, to a point, they scare their opponent to panicking and doing dumb things in the end.
They never led in that game until that final shot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it statistically at the half. When I said OKC was up 12, right? They forced 19 turnovers. Now, as many games as I played in, and I know, like, if we force 10 turnovers in a half, most likely we're going to be up probably 10 or 12 points. When I said they were down 12, I said Indiana's in good shape. 19 turnovers, you're supposed to be down like 25 points.
Yep.
But the problem is where OKC went wrong, they didn't convert those turnovers into points. And Indiana defensively, I got to take my hats off to that because usually 20 turnovers, if you have 20 turnovers, most likely you're going to lose the game. And they had that in the first half. That's why I was like, they in good shape. Down 12, y'all in cool. Y'all cool. Man, and so it makes me wonder, and the reason I talk about the leadership is what was talked about in the locker room. That's all they talked about. We can't turn the ball over, guys. What we doing? We sloppy. We going into the paint. They just taking the ball from us. If we take care of the ball, things good will happen. And they took care of the ball, only 6 turnovers in the second half. They got back in the game. If you look, period by period, they got better. 20 points in the first quarter, 25 in the second. Third quarter, 31 points. Had their best quarter in the last quarter, 35 points. So they took care of the ball, and that's when their offense started rolling. That's why everybody gained their confidence. So, man, another thing I learned before you go, Joe, this team just loves being down, and they love being the underdog.
No, they do. They are not front runners at all.
Not at all.
They're the opposite. They're like, don't believe in us, make us underdogs, make it impossible. But to your point about leadership, Rick Carlisle has coached 2 of the 3 teams with fourth quarter comebacks of 15 or more points in the NBA Finals since 1971.
Wow.
So he can stand in front of them and say, there ain't nothing to worry about.
Good,
we just play our game, just stay the course. And when we were watching the game, it was like, they just got to get it under 10 points.
Yeah.
Like if they can just get it,
I'm saying that
if they can get it under 10 points, they're going to be able to keep this close down the stretch. It's just really an incredible game 1 to watch.
I played in the game, so it was game 4 versus the Lakers. We was down 20 points in the first half. In the third, and we came back and won that game. And I just remember being in the timeout, Doc, get it to 10, like you said, everybody encouraging. It wasn't no heads down. It wasn't no body. It wasn't none of that. It was just like, we're going to get back in it. Everybody encouraging one another. The timeout. That timeout, I like to call a timeout like a sacred room right there. So when we come over here and we huddle and everybody close, that's that. When we go into that sacred little time, it's because like you on the road. You got all this outside distraction. We're going to come into the sacred room and we're going to get it together. And in them timeouts, we got it together. We encouraging one another. Come on, man, we're going to get back in it. And it just reminded me of that, if everybody's staying together. And the Pacers have done it time and time again. So they secret huddle right there in the Lions' Den. that thing is paying off. Whatever Rick is saying to them and Haliburton, their words they put in that secret, it's paying off.
They got MJ's secret stuff in there. That's a tough way to walk off that court, putting up 40 and Haliburton in that shot. Key, have you had OKC winning in 5? So how concerned should the Thunder be right now?
Move it to 6.
You can move it to 6.
You go moving the goalposts.
They should be. Well, because I don't think they're gonna win 4 in a row. So you got to move. Let's move it a little bit. Honestly, they should be very concerned, Joy.
I'm gonna move mine to the Pacers in 6 then. Can I do that?
You had the Pacers in 5?
No, I had them in 7.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm gonna
move them up.
Yeah, I'm gonna move them up.
I mean, you could always.
I'm gonna go Pacers in 6.
You choose to do so. I mean, when you think about it, though, the Thunder should be concerned. They lost the first game at home, although they lost to Denver the first game. But this is a different team than the Denver Nuggets. But they lose control of the series by losing this game at home. Because as Paul always said, all we want to do, if we can just kind of Steal one.
And this one was stolen.
You know, steal
Stolen. This was
Think about what happened to the Knicks. They stole that first game
what do they call
they never
that?
looked back again.
What do they call it in police term? What they call is it a 211? The 211, huh?
asking me?
That was a straight 211.
You gonna look at me and ask me? I don't know.
That was a straight 211.
Joy, what is it, Joy?
It's a 211.
I don't need any more problems.
But you know, teams that have won on the road,
Man.
they're 5-2 when they won the first game this year, so they're 5-2. The teams that have won their first game on the road,
5-2, 2-11.
you know, 5-2, 2-11. So, you know, they should be concerned though. That's the way I look at it because they got the one at home. Now, let's say they lose and they go 1-1. They go back to Indy. Mm-hmm. Now they got that cushion that they need. They can somewhat play around. Not that they want to, and then they get those two at home in the home crowd and OKC on the road. They 3-1 now. They one game from the Larry O'Brien.
I think they should be concerned because that was a terrible game by the Pacers. Like, they did not play well. 25 turnovers is atrocious. And even down the stretch, they were taking some weird shots. They were settling for threes. They just managed to play their game and stay close enough to slide in and steal it. Even on the last play, I was like, oh my God, are they going to not give the ball to Haliburton? Like, it needs to be in his hands immediately. So I think they should be concerned because the Pacers playing wire to wire a good game, this is going to be a really competitive series.
Yeah, but if I could scare you by playing close and forcing you to make late game mistakes, and that's what they did. They played it so close that, as I like to say, the OKC Thunder was so scared they couldn't shoot a BB out. That's how tight they were.
But that's kind of what their game is. Like, they just blow you out. They just dominate teams. They do that during the regular season. They've been doing that in the postseason. When they get into these close game situations, they haven't had to deal with that much this postseason. That's really when.
So in other words, they're not tested the way they need to be.
Well, I mean, if you're blowing everybody out, then you're not really going to get those tests, which you would think is a good thing because you're that dominant of a team. But now you're in the finals, so you're up against the best of the best. You're going up against another team who's also been through the gauntlet and who actually likes to play like this.
Yeah, you know what's weird for me? I was just like, and I knew going into this. I'm super concerned. By the way, I'm super concerned for OKC. And they should be too. Because when you look at these numbers, and I say, oh, they shot 39% from the field, and the Pacers shot 47%. Well, OKC is supposed to be the dominant defensive team. They're not supposed to shoot 47% from the field. They made 18 threes, 46% Pacers did. Well, Oklahoma has been defending the three all year long. And the only thing that the Pacers did wrong was have 25 turnovers, 24 from my stat sheet. Think about it. If they cut down their turnovers to like what they usually been averaging around 13, the Pacers might have blew them out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm concerned for OKC. Where are they going to manufacture offense from outside Shai Gilgeous? Jalen Williams is supposed to be that guy. He didn't show up. He's been up and down, especially in the second round. The third round, when they played Minnesota, he was a little more consistent. So, moving forward.
Chet didn't have a big night.
But this is the thing, too. They went away from a lineup they played all year long. Hartenstein and Chet. They started both of them. They didn't start them. For what genius reason did he feel like you went 82 games and all through the playoffs to wait to the finals to change your starting lineup? You waited all year through 82 games, 3 rounds of basketball, get to the finals, say, let me come up with this genius idea. Let me bring Hartenstein off the bench. And it cost you.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.